Kentucky and Florida get set to do battle Saturday night in Lexington. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Wildcats and the Gators. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, guys. We are inching ever so close to that 30,000 subscriber mark. We can't do it without your love and support. Also, make sure you check out our friends over at FANDUEL because, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FANDUEL, FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Believe it or not, the Kentucky Wildcats have won an SEC game. Now they're trying to do the unthinkable, win back-to-back. But here come the Florida Gators coming off their loss to the Georgia Bulldogs in Jacksonville, licking their wounds from another loss in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Billy Gonzalez, the interim head coach, leads the Gators into Lexington. Mark Stoops, once again, trying to continue his tenure there. What would another win do for he and the Cats and the future of Big Blue Nation? Either way, we are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game. It's Kentucky. It's Florida. It's a Saturday night in Lexington. And as always, I'm Chris Phillips. Joining me once again, my co-host, colleague, partner in crime, Mr. Cole Thompson. Bear, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you taking the time. Excited to break down this game with you. This second time you and I this week have been talking about an SEC team coming off their first SEC win of the season. And again, trying to do what felt like the unthinkable just a week ago, win back-to-back conference games.
Arkansas, come on, man. It's time to pick up the pace, guys. You got to get in on this thing because you can't be the only one that doesn't have an SEC win. You brought this up, Chris. When was the last time that we saw Kentucky win back-to-back SEC games? It was when they started off 5-0 on September 30th, 2023. Now, can you tell me who did they beat in that matchup in back-to-back games?
It feels like a trick question. I'm going to go Florida as one of those wins.
Florida at home.
2023 would have been, I think that's the Ray Davis game where he ran for 270 yards against Florida.
Ray Davis ran for 280 yards in a 33-14 win, and it was the last time we saw back-to-back victories at home. So Kentucky's got a couple of things going their way when it comes to facing off against Florida at Kroger Field. Night game atmosphere. Mark Stoops is a guy that I think truly does love Big Blue Nation. Whether or not we believe that he should be here long-term is he's earned the right to at least fight for his job after how much good equity he has. A win like last week over Auburn could be a turning point for you to where you start rattling off a few more wins. Maybe it's not bowl eligibility, but knowing that buyout, knowing Mitch Barnhart, he doesn't want to pay that price. Start winning some football games. You're pretty safe. But if you're Florida, this is an opportunity for you to still save your season and go to a bowl game. Let some of these seniors, let some of these top-tier names give you hope and optimism on why they should be back here in Gainesville for 2026.
Yeah, Bear, a lot on the line, if you can believe it, in this one. Saturday night, 6:30 Central Time kickoff on SEC Network there in Lexington at Kroger Field. Bear Gators are a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 44.5 via our friends over at FanDuel. The series history, Florida leads at all time, 54-20. Interestingly enough, though, Bear, that does not tell the full story of how this series has gone over the last 5-10 years or so. Kentucky has really made this thing super competitive after not beating Florida for, what was it, almost 30 years. Yeah. Steve Spurrier never lost to them. There was a long streak. It was 24 years in a row, and Kentucky broke it. And since then, again, they've given the Gators all they want and then some. But last year, Florida won that game, of course, in the Swamp by a final score of 48-20. Bear, interestingly enough, you mentioned for Florida's bowl game hopes. And again, is the season a wash? Is it a loss? Sure, you don't have a head coach right now. Everybody's more focused on who the next head coach in Gainesville is going to be. But you're right. You sit 3-5, 2-3 in conference play. So you've got 4 to win 3. You got 4 games left to win 3. This Kentucky game better be one of them because the other games are at Ole Miss, Tennessee, and then you got the rivalry game against Florida State. So you're going to have to steal one of Ole Miss and Tennessee. It's assuming you beat Kentucky. You have to beat Kentucky if you are going to go bowling in this season. But from the Florida perspective, Bear, I mean, again, I was there in person, got to watch the Gators. It was a spirited effort against Georgia. I mean, there were some things they did shooting themselves in the foot, some self-inflicted wounds. I thought DJ Lagway missed some throws that he's just simply got to hit, man. I mean, the one that we're talking about, is it a catch, no catch? Here's the problem. The guy's running down the field wide open, and he skips it to him. So, things like that. DJ Lagway, I think, at the quarterback position has got to be better. Also, we know this now. Dallas Wilson out for the season, right? That narrows the path a little bit. It puts a lot of pressure on Trey Wilson, who had a massive game against Georgia, 9 for 121 and a touchdown, to be big for them yet again. Guys like J. Michael Sturtevant also. And, of course, you need the running game. So I say all that, Bear. Offensively, you're going up against a Kentucky defense I think you should be able to have some success against. I don't look too much into the Auburn game because Auburn, as we know, is just a complete mess. It does feel like a game in which Florida is able to go in, have some offensive success, whether it be through the air or on the ground.
Yeah, you didn't have Vernell Brown last week against Georgia. Will you have him back for this game now that you don't have Dallas Wilson out there? The Wilson thing is a big deal for two reasons. Number one, if he wants to redshirt, he can now, and he can use that as eligibility elsewhere. But the other thing is that when he was on the field, he made plays. I mean, again, I remember saying throughout all the offseason, watching Dallas Wilson in this offense underneath Billy Napier was one of the saving graces on why I could understand you keeping him as the play caller, and now he's not out there. So you are going to rely heavily on your two veteran wide receivers, and J. Michael Sturtevant and Eugene Wilson, to have to get on open. And you're going to also have to rely heavily on your tight end plays, whether it be Hayden Hansen or not. It remains to be seen, but you got to be able to, I think, get those short passes off. The thing that I want to see DJ Lagway do in this game, if I'm a Florida fan, get back to the basics. Like, quite literally, you were the Gatorade Player of the Year. You were a standout in the state of Texas. You were one of the most highly profiled names in the last 5 years for the Florida offense. And part of the reason why Billy Napier kept his job last season was largely due to you. So can we get back to just seeing you play the version of quarterback that we have been so accustomed to, that now makes us feel more confident that you still got a couple things to go your way, some hiccups, maybe bad coaching has been a factor with it, but this is who you are, and this is why we have faith that you're going to be able to turn it around and be the answer to why in 2026 we can make a run to the playoff with the right head coach. I think also you got to trust the ground game. You know, we talk about Kentucky this season. Kentucky's inability to stop the run at times has been critical. You got Jaden Baugh. Jaden Baugh is an elite running back. He is a player that absolutely is going to cost you a pretty penny on the open market if he leaves. Last week, once again, and this was a problem that I had with Billy Napier a lot, you turn away from the rushing attack. You just try to force things to go through the air. You have the best player on the field at the position on either sideline. Get him the football. Let him utilize his legs. If you go rush 25 times and you end up losing because of he can't get the ball moving off the ground, that's one thing. But when you take the ball out of his hands and you only give him 15 carries, you're averaging still 4.8 yards a play. Don't shy away from that in this matchup, especially in a game to where you got to get DJ Lagway feeling confident again. The best way to do so is have a secondary punch on the ground.
Bear, like you like to say, run the damn ball. Run the ball.
Run it.
Run the damn ball. You know, Bear, interestingly enough, we were just talking about Florida and their chances at a bowl game. What if I told you Kentucky can still go to a bowl? Who would have ever thought the Kentucky Wildcats are still in contention? But that is the case. 3-5, 1-5 in conference play. You've got the Gators. Then you've got Tennessee Tech. That should be your fourth win at minimum. Can you steal 2 out of these 3? Florida, at Vandy, at Louisville. It's going to be difficult, no doubt, but you probably need to steal this one against the Gators if you're going to have a shot. Bear, Cutter Boley's been a good story. Been a really good story for Kentucky. I think he's come on and done much better than we expected. He did struggle in that game against Auburn. Granted, Auburn's got one of the best defenses in college football. Defense certainly has not been their problem. What do we get out of Cutter Boley in this game? He went 18-29 last week, 161, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. We all know Seth McGowan, their big back in the backfield. Kendrick Law on the outside's a guy who can make plays for them. Josh Caddis at the tight end position, I think a really underrated player in the conference. But, you know, Florida defensively, watching them last week, you know, it was really, really good at times, but also they struggled at times. And that's kind of been the case with Florida's defense this year. We've seen them be elite at times, I feel like, on the defensive side.
Yeah.
You know, the more I think about this game, Bear, the more I think this one's probably going to be – I think it should be a good day for Florida defensively. I was going to say it might be a lower scoring game. I think for Florida defensively, though, I do like the matchup. But, again, Cutter Boley has surprised us a lot this season. So don't be surprised if we get more of the same.
I'm going to push back just a little bit on what you said. You should win against Tennessee Tech. Chris, they're 9-0. I mean, I'm never going to say when you're an undefeated team.
I mean,
I get it. I get it.
Now.
But you're 9-0. I got to give you a little bit of credit. For Cutter Boley, two main elements. Number one, cut down the turnovers. I mean, that's just been an issue. And I understand the offensive line isn't great. They're not giving you as much protection as you want. But this is no longer just like, oh, we're filling in for Zach Calzada. No, you have been the starting quarterback for a while. And so far, you have 7 interceptions against 10 touchdowns. You got to be able to stop throwing into double coverage. You got to stop being able to overshoot a Kendrick Law or a Jamori Macklin or a Josh Caddis. You got to put the ball in play. And number two, timing is going to be everything. Bush Hamden in this game, I think, is going to have to play with such great tempo because of, you brought this up. There's times where Florida looks really, really good defensively, and they're getting after quarterbacks, and they're winning their one-on-one battles line of scrimmage, and they're not getting me up explosive plays downfield. But then there's times where Florida slips, and it falls on the sword itself, thus costing you an opportunity to really kind of go ahead and start pulling away. Like we saw that against Georgia, we saw that against Texas at times, definitely saw that in the matchup against Texas A&M. So can you get them to slip? And then when you do, that comes with the tempo, where you're getting to the line of scrimmage in a timely manner. You're getting some quick plays off. You're doing some strikes downfield. And you're winning those battles because of what you're making sure happens afterwards is those battles end up getting you some second chance opportunities. If Kentucky can do that, I think that they can at least make this a 4-quarter game. I do like the fact this is a matchup in Lexington, a place where whether or not you want to say Florida has had its, house of horrors, because it really hasn't over the time, the last time they were there, it wasn't pretty. So can you do the exact same thing once again and use that as an advantage to maybe at least put yourself in a position that you trust few plays here or there could be the deciding factor in going home with a win or a loss?
Bear, one thing I want to point out too is this atmosphere at Kroger Field. I'm curious to see what this environment is like, because we've seen it over the years. Night games in Lexington, it does feel like weird things happen here. It's not, nobody's deeming this as, the toughest place to play in the conference or one of the scariest places, but some strange things have happened at night in Lexington. So I wonder, how does the atmosphere play into it? Again, the number from Vegas is 3.5. It's a weird spread, to be honest with you. I think we very well may be in for a weird game. Again, you got one team that doesn't have a head coach. You got another that, you and I even set up to the Auburn game. I think you still know what you need to do for the future of your program, that being moving off of Mark Stoops. Yeah, I'll say this too on that note, Bear. This is one, don't you feel like, I think you could still, like if they were to lose out or even they beat Tennessee Tech but lose the rest, there's going to be a lot of momentum to get him out of there. You win this one, Mark Stoops has got to be back next year, right? I think he's got to be back if he wins this one.
I don't think you have to be back. I think it becomes harder to fire him. I think that this is where, once again, you look at the position and say, you beat Tennessee Tech, you win this one. Well, now we're looking at least a 5-7 season at worst. But I don't think you're going to be 5-7. What if you beat Vandy? Then 100% you're back. If you beat Louisville, 100% you're back.
Yeah.
But you win this game. Once again, what it shows you is there still is fight in the program. There still is a construction of where it feels like we don't have the right pieces, but we still have the right identity of ourselves. What I wonder about this game also, with it being a night matchup, you talk about weird stuff going on. Like they took Georgia last year down to the wire. And if Mark Stoops just drops his freaking nuts and says, you know what? Don't punt. Go for it on 4th down. We're going to swing big. They maybe end up winning a football game and their entire seasons look completely different going into 2025. But the thing is that there's also going to be like these games, like the spreads are like at 43.5. This feels like also one of those games where it could be like a 45-41 finish. Like that's the weird shit that we're talking about down here. Like stuff like that usually doesn't occur. And the two personas of these teams that should match up and say, here's what works and here's what doesn't. Well, it's a night game out in Lexington. Let's flip everything upside down and go ahead and just say, oh, they can't run the football. Well, tonight they're going to run for 500 yards. Oh, they throw into triple coverage all the time. Well, we're going to see a perfect passer rating from Cutter Boley. Oh, well, Jaden Baugh doesn't really touch the football. Well, we're going to make him run it 75,000 times. That this game kind of feels like, in my opinion. But again, a win is a win, and you're never going to apologize for a win on the road. If you're Florida, you're certainly not going to apologize for a win if you're Mark Stoops trying to save your job.
Let's not forget, Kentucky took Texas to overtime just a few weeks ago as well. So Cats have been knocking on the door. Finally got that first SEC win last week on the road. Can they make it back-to-back this weekend, or is it Florida bouncing back from the cocktail party loss and getting Billy Gonzalez his first win as interim head coach? That being said, Bear, let's lock in some picks. Let's lock in some predictions. Would you like the honors, or would you want me to?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think that Mark Stoops, again, if he is able to save his job, it's not the worst thing possible. You're delaying the inevitable in a year to where maybe the top coaching candidates that you want are not available to you. So it could end up being a position of success a little bit. The buyout becomes a little bit cheaper, becomes a little bit more manageable. You get to figure out what changes are absolutely going to have to be necessary for Mark Stoops in the offseason. But I also look at this from Florida's standpoint. I had this conversation with you last week when it came to Texas after the game. As much as I could say that Vanderbilt's been a fun story, and Vanderbilt's been a team that has won over a lot of America, and people are saying, let's go root for the Nerds. When it comes down to it, roster composition does play a factor. And that was why we saw the 5 stars and the can't miss talent all make plays out in Austin. You saw the Ryan Wingos, you saw the Colin Simmons, you saw the Anthony Hills live up to the billing. And Kentucky doesn't have that. And Florida does. And Florida may not be an elite team, and Florida may not even be a good team, but they still have those 4-star and 5-star composition players that end up making this thing, in my opinion, probably a lopsided game if you don't play perfect if you're Kentucky. And I don't think Kentucky's been playing perfect. I think Kentucky has been lucky. I think Kentucky has shown you that they're not as bad as their record appears, but they also have made far too many mistakes, and it feels like that they're going to make one more against a Florida team. I don't love this game at all. I think this is going to be a very, very low-scoring snooze fest affair. And honestly, I think it just comes down to the wire because of those 4 5-star talents that reside in Gainesville are a little bit better than those in Lexington. I think the under at 43.5 is going to hit. I got a final score of 20-17. I just think that you will watch as Jaden Baugh pushes it into the end zone twice. You know what? 21-17. Let's play a little bit more with fire. 21-17. Give me a hat trick from Jaden Baugh. That's what ends up winning this football game. Run the damn Baugh. Run it and make it unlucky to stop 13. Go ahead and call it a day. You win your first game, Billy Gonzalez. And Mark Stoops again. You've done well in Lexington. Clock's at 0. Let's go ahead and call it a day.
Run the damn ball, says Cole the Bear Thompson. I agree with you about one thing. This is going to be a game that it's like a car crash. You just cannot look away as badly as you want to. This is the game probably neither fan base really wants to watch, but they're going to do so anyways because, hey, we only get so many of these Saturdays. Let's all make them count. Weird game. The spread's weird. It scares me a little bit from the standpoint of if you're favoring the Florida side. It feels like it's primed for an upset for Kentucky. Night game at home. That being said, Bear, you got one. Kentucky got one. I don't think you're getting 2. And I don't think if you do get 2, I don't think you're winning them back-to-back for sure. I think Florida comes in. Again, the one thing these kids will do is play hard. They're going to play hard for Billy Gonzalez. I think they do that in this football game. I agree with you. I think Jaden Baugh has a big day. I think DJ Lagway, will be more crisp, more efficient. Trey Wilson, another big game. And I think Florida gets one more stop. I think it's a little bit higher scoring than you predicted, but I do think the Gators win. I got Florida covering the -3.5, same as you. Give me Florida 27, Kentucky 20. So I do think it's a close game, back and forth game, but as is so often in the Mark Stoops tenure, I think Mark Stoops just finishes just a little bit short, and I think we're all reminded, hey, it is time to move on, like you said. So I'm going Florida 27, Kentucky 20. Expect some weirdness, expect some weird things to happen Saturday night in Lexington, but the bottom line, I do think the Gators are just flat out the more talented team. They're the better team, even with all the unknowns and the chaos and the interim coach. I think they actually showed last week against Georgia. This is still a really good, talented team. No moral victories, came up short, but you have to acknowledge that fact. I think they're good enough to go into Lexington and get this win. So
weird stuff happening in Lexington on a Saturday night. That is the only guarantee that I'm going to make for this game.
Guys, we're both going Gators. Do you agree with us? You disagree? Who comes out on top Saturday night in Lexington, Florida, or Kentucky? That's going to do it all for us. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get out of here, do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. It's NBA tip-off week, and FanDuel is your home for live betting. So even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel's got live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join, because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to sign up today. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Guys, like I mentioned, we appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you check us out wherever you get your podcasts, all across your favorite social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. We're signing off. We appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you all on the other side.